bathtub contains 40 liters of water. The plug is pulled. This graph shows the volume of water remaining in the tub V as a function of time t. What is a restriction on the range? So just as a quick refresher, range refers to the y-axis values, and range means the possible spread or range or allowed y values. So in this case, our y-axis is the volume in liters. And so the range would describe the possible liters that this graph or function can have. So thinking about this question from like a realistic standpoint, we have a bathtub, it has 40 liters in it, and then the plug is pulled. What is the restriction on the range? That means, what are the restrictions on the volume? Well, we know that the volume can't be more than 40 liters, okay? It's not magically going to suddenly gain water after the plug is pulled. So in terms of the volume V, we know that it has to be less than or equal to 40 liters. On the other end of the spectrum, actually quickly a note on that 40, we can see that also here in the graph. Our graph starts at V equals 40 on the y-axis, and that is as high as it goes. This is a termination point, right? And so it doesn't go any higher than that. So we can also deduce that the range must be at its most 40. As for the other end of the spectrum, we can see down here the volume ends at V equals 0. So we know that the volume has to be greater than or equal to 0. If you think about this in the actual realistic sense, we have a bathtub and you pull the plug, the water is not going to be any less than 0 liters. It can't be negative. That is a very, very important restriction on this one, especially if you consider that this is a real life system. And that is the most important restriction in this question, and the one that it's getting you to discover is that the restriction is that you cannot have negative a negative range or negative liters or volume. So you cannot have negative numbers. In other words, the volume. And that's the most important distinction here in this one. Yes, we can't have more than 40 liters, but what we're looking for is that you can't have negative numbers for the range because you can't have a negative volume.